Hi everyone, this is Mike from TerraQUIP, and today we're going to be running through all the steps that need to be done on site in order to start up the machine. The IMT A140, which is a hydraulic drilling and piling rig, 40-ton class rig. In this situation, it's actually in low headroom, so you can see the very short mast. This is going to give the operators basically the advantage of drilling under power lines and under existing structures or what have you. You can see the tracks are sucked in. You can see the mast is almost in horizontal position. The rotary head is almost at the bottom of the mast and the cat head is flopped down. Okay, so the very first step we need to do is to put the isolator off. The next step we need to do is remove the slew lock, which is located right here. Wait for the sound to turn off. Now we're briefly going to run through the controls of the A140 and the buttons. So we've got start up here, we've got RPM here. So increasing, decreasing RPM. That's the safety lever. The rig is now activated. The left joystick, left and right moves the slew, down, up moves the main winch. We have tracks. We have the right joystick, which left and right moves the rotary, forwards and backwards. Down is the crowd force, up, crowd force up. And these four levers here, they're very important. The left one is the left tilting cylinder. The right one is the right tilting cylinder. The third one, counting from left to right, is the boom. If I push, the machine is going to jib down. If I pull, the machine is going to jib up. And the fourth one is the auxiliary winch, which if I pull on it, the auxiliary winch is going to release. If I pull on it, the auxiliary winch is going to wind up. Then this is the Cummins computer. This shows the pump. This is P1, P2, P3. These are the two main pumps. This is the auxiliary pump, and that's our RPM. Here, 35%, that's the fuel. Right here, we have the IMT control display, which shows the inclination. So front and back. And this is lateral, left and right. And here is the depth display. This is the reset button. This is how you reset the depth to 0 every time you start a pile. And here we have the setup, but that's for the technician. Right here, we have the control board, which gives us the rotary gears 1, 2, and 3 if we want to select them from here, but we also have the option to select them from here. So 1, 2, and 3. And this is the switch that allows us to change speeds either from the control board, either from here or from the joystick. Right now it's set to change the speeds from the joystick, because you can see joystick RH, which means the right joystick. But if I switch, then that light is going to turn on, and that's telling me now I'm changing the gears from the rotary from here, 1, 2, and 3. That's just a light from the mast if we're working at nighttime. This is just the switch from Kelly bar to CFA, but obviously now we're in low headroom Kelly bar, so that means has to be towards the left. That's basically the switch to expand the tracks, to extend the tracks, or to retract them. These are the limit switches for the main winch or auxiliary winch, the boom, and this is the bottom hole. I'm going to explain a little bit more in detail as you go through all of them. And these two bottom ones, they're not for the pull down cylinder version, they're actually for the crowd winch version. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be increasing the RPM as I'm ready to expand my tracks. Don't need to increase the RPM too much, just to about 1400 RPM. I'm going to be trying and tracking at the same time while I'm expanding the tracks in order to disturb the ground that I'm on as little as possible. So I'm just going to try to track very, very slowly forward and backwards as I'm expanding the tracks. Okay, now the tracks are fully expanded, so my next step is simply to boom up. Now, very important with the A140, never action the tilting cylinders, which are these first two levers, without actually jibbing all the way up. So now that I've jibbed all the way up, I'm ready to raise the mast by using the left and right tilting cylinders. So I'm just going to raise them both equally at the same time because each lever operates each cylinder. While I'm doing this, I'm trying to make sure that I'm raising both cylinders evenly in order for the mast to raise vertically. There will be a little bit of a slack into the main winch rope, but that's perfectly fine. The kill bar is going to drop about 100 mil, but that's perfectly fine as the cathead is flopping into the working mode. So once I've raised my mast to about 30 degrees, now we're at 24.5. Now I can have a look while I'm raising it with the tilting cylinders that my left and right inclination doesn't go more than 1.5 degrees. So I'm going to push this and I'm going to watch my inclinometer. So obviously now I'm a little bit to the left, so I need to push a little bit more on the left one while I'm raising the mast and a little bit less on the right, and that pretty much gets me straight. So now that I'm at 0 on lateral, I'm just gonna push them equally. So now I'm still 12 degrees, minus 12 degrees when it comes to forward inclination on the back. I need to push until I reach 0 to be perfectly plumb. Okay, so 0.0, 0.1, that's the inclination right now. Okay, so now that the mast is up and the tracks are expanded, I'm ready to travel to the point where I'm going to pick up my auger, which is right over there. So if I push on these levers forward, the machine is going to track forward. If I'm going to push on the right one a little bit more, the right track is going to start tracking a little bit quicker and the rig is going to turn. Okay, so now we're going to explain the controls of the IMT A140 in low headroom version. This is basically the kill switch that enables all of the controls. So if I put this down, the rig now is enabled to drill. If I push any of the controls, it's going to work. So lifting this is going to disable all the controls on the IMT A140. Lowering this, enabling everything because I'm ready to go. We're going to start with the simplest controls, and that's basically the tracks. You got two levers here, left and right. Each lever controls each track. The left one controls the left one, the right one controls the right one. So for example, if I pull them together, the rig is going to turn back. However, if I'm going to rotate, now basically the turret is facing the other way. So if I pull on the levers, I'm going to track forward, right? But if I'm pushing them, I'm going to track backwards. All right, so I'm just going to rotate. I'm going to slew to the right. The left joystick pushing right is going to make the machine slew right. If I'm going to push to the left, it's going to make the machine rotate left. Now basically we have the tilting cylinders. So each one of these levers controls the tilting cylinders. So they allow me basically to put the mast back, to stand the mast up, or to level the mast to be perfectly plumb. So right now I've got half a degree towards the left and about 1 degree forward. So once I set up right on top of the hole, I'm going to track. It's pretty much there. I'm going to try to set the mast perfectly straight. So now I'm at 0.1, 0.0 basically. So my mast is perfectly level. If I push on the tilting cylinders, the mast is going to tilt forward. If I pull on them together, the mast is going to tilt back, and this is basically how you put the mast in transfer mode, by pulling on the both of these levers. So basically the tilting cylinders retract. I'm not going to continue now because I want to drill, but in order to control each tilting cylinder, as I said, the left joystick controls the left tilting cylinder, the right one controls the right tilting cylinder. So if I push just one of them, I'm going to tilt the mast forward like that, because just one of the cylinders is going to expand. But I want them both at the same time. So therefore I'm going to push them both together. Now I'm at 10 degrees, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So just want to go a little bit slower here. Okay, now I'm 0.0, 0.1. The mast is pretty much perfectly level. Now the third lever from left to right, that controls the jib of the machine. So if I pull on it, it's going to jib up. If I push on it, it's going to jib down. Now I'm in low headroom and I've got quite a long auger, so I'm not going to jib more than this. I'm going to jib all the way back up again. The fourth lever from left to right, that controls basically my auxiliary line winch. So if I push on it, the auxiliary winch unwinds. If I pull on it, the auxiliary winch winds up. So therefore it's going to lift the load. But now I got nothing to lift. The auxiliary line is just stored there. It's parked there on the side of that lever. So if I pull on the lever, it's going to lift. If I push on it, it's going to drop. Pretty simple. In fact, this is one of the biggest advantages of IMT machines. They're extremely easy to operate, they're extremely easy to maintain, and they don't rely on any complicated electronics to do the job. Therefore, they become much more reliable, because a lot of the problems in the piling industry, they result from electronics issue. Very rarely from mechanical issues or from hydraulic issues. It can be from hydraulic as well, of course, but the more simple the machine, the easier it is to maintain it and to keep it drilling. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the left joystick and the right joystick. My right joystick allows me to drill. This allows me to rotate and turn the rotary. So if I pull it left, it's going to rotate left. If I push it right, it's going to rotate right. So clockwise, anti-clockwise. Now, the right joystick also allows me to apply crowd force, which means basically, let me just make sure I'm perfectly plumb onto the hole. Okay, so we're talking about the right joystick. The right joystick also allows me to operate the crowd cylinder. So it's the cylinder up there that's connected to my rotary. So if I push on the joystick down, the rotary comes down. If I pull, the rotary comes up. All right, so pushing sends the rotary down. If I pull on it, it lifts the rotary. Okay, the right joystick also allows me to basically to change the rotary gears. This is how you change the rotary gears. So if I pull on it, I'm basically drilling. I'm going to increase the RPM. So this is the first gear. This is the second gear in the middle. And this is the third gear. The more I increase the RPM, the faster it goes. So that's my third gear, second gear, and the first gear. The right joystick also allows me to activate a spin-up function. And this is another great advantage of the IMT piling rigs. They have both discharge mechanisms on the rotary. They have the fast spin, the high speed spin-off, which means the rotary spins at very high speed. Or it allows me to operate click-clack in the fourth gear. And and that's a huge advantage to have if you have to discharge rock cores or any other very sticky, annoying material. This is how you deactivate the speed, the high-speed spin-off. So by pressing this, when I press this, the blue light comes on, which means the spin-off is activated. If I press on it again, it disables, right? So the light is on. I can also operate the spin-off from here. Press on it, the blue light is on, activated, blue light off, so that's deactivated. Okay. Now on the left-hand side joystick, we've got basically, this operates the main winch. So if I push on the left joystick down, that operates my main winch. The main winch unwinds. If I pull up, my main winch basically pulls up. Therefore, because the main winch is connected to the Kelly bar, with the help of the swivel on top, that basically lifts the Kelly bar and lowers the Kelly bar. So again, this is the left joystick. If I pull on it, the Kelly bar will go up because the winch winds up. If I push on it, the Kelly bar goes down. Okay? If I'm gonna pull on the Kelly bar too high up, the main winch limit switch will be turned on, and you can see here. And that basically disables my main winch. However, if I push down, my main winch starts working again. As long as the red light is not on, my main winch is activated. So activate it. Okay. Now, if I push on the left joystick left, the machine slew left, the machine will slew right if I push on the right. So that's pretty simple. That's exactly the same as in any excavator. Let's see what else we have here on the control board. We have the rotary gears, so 1, 2, and 3. So I can control the rotary gears from the right hand side joystick, but I can also control them from the control board. All I have to do, if I choose the joystick, I can control it from here. But if I switch towards keyboard, the white light is going to turn on. Therefore, this will no longer work. This is exactly the same because it's deactivated. But if I switch it here, all right. Then we have the tracks. If I pull on it, that's going to, if I push towards left, the switch, the tracks are going to expand. If I pull towards right, the tracks are going to be sucked in. So now I want to expand the tracks because I want to drill. You should never have the tracks sucked in if you're standing up the mast. You should always push the tracks all the way out and have as much stability as possible if you're going to stand up the mast. Whereas in transport, you can have the tracks either sucked in or retracted. Here we have the main winch limit switch. So if I trigger the main winch like I do now, I can't lift up higher. But if for any reason I need to lift up higher, all I have to do is just press the main winch and then pull on the lever. But I don't want to go any higher because I'm pretty much at the top. So I'm just going to go down. This is the boom limit switch. So if you have to boom all the way down, if you're going to boom too much, the boom limit switch is going to be activated and it's not going to let you to go any lower than that. But if you need to go lower than that, you can. You just have to override it and then push the third lever from left to right. And that's the bottom hole. And that's to explain a big advantage of the IMT. So once my tool is at the bottom, I push down on the left hand side joystick and the main winch is completely disabled unless I pull up. But if for any reason I need to go, you know, for changing the rope, for example, I need to go lower than that, all I have to do is just override it. The orange light is going to come out, and then I push on the left hand side joystick, and you can see my main winch unwinding. This is a great feature to have on a piling rig, because when you back into the hole and you want to drill really quick, you don't want to worry about like, oh, what was my last depth? Was it 3.3? Oh, I need to stop pushing the lever because my tool is going to be at the bottom and I'm going to unwind the main winch too much. No, this will simply stop by itself when the tool reaches the bottom, which is a great feature to have. All right, now that we have more or less all the controls of the IMT, we're ready to do some drilling. So I'm going to go very, very slowly with each step I'm doing. So let's say I just came out of the hole, I've discharged all my material, the auger is clean, I'm ready to go back into the hole. So what I do is I press the left hand side joystick to the right, the machine is going to slew right. I'm going to slew right until my auger is perfectly aligned with the actual hole. Once I'm perfectly aligned, I'm ready to unwind the main winch. So I'm going to press on the left hand side joystick, and that's going to send the Kelly bar down the bottom. Again, with IMT, I don't need to worry about what was my last step on the display, because as soon as the tool reaches the bottom, the main winch senses no weight on the Kelly bar on the main winch, therefore it's going to stop it. Okay? Once the Kelly bar and the tool are into the ground, are deep down into the ground at the bottom of the hole, okay, I'm ready to start drilling. So what I do is on the left hand side, on the right hand side joystick, I pull it to the right, and that's going to make my rotary turn. Okay, as the rotary turns, what I want to do is I want to advance down as well. So what I do is I apply crowd force. That means basically pushing down on the right hand side joystick will allow my auger to drill, to rotate and advance in depth at the same time. All right, so another great advantage of the IMT piling rigs is that when you apply crowd force and you push the rotary down, there is no free fall winch button or pedal. So when I crowd and I drill, I don't need to press anything else to let the winch go down. Once I advance in Kelly bar is usually anywhere between 300 mil and 500 mil at a time that you want to advance, unless you have a really long auger like a 3 meters auger, and then you bite 1.2 meters at a time. It really depends on the material, diameter you're drilling, and so on and so forth. Now, once I've drilled about half a meter, what I do is I need to unlock my rotary, because the rotary is locked now onto the Kelly bar. So I unlock it, and then I'm ready to pull up, because I applied force on the rotary. I'm ready to pull up the rotary as well as my Kelly bar with the main winch. Once the auger is out of the ground, I'm ready to discharge the material. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to slew away from the hole, because we don't want any material in the hole. And now what I do is I activate the spin off. Now I need a bit more RPM on the engine in order to create a faster spin. So just going to go anti-clockwise. So that's the fast spin, and that's going to throw the material, because of the centrifugal force, it's going to send the material away from the auger, and it's going to discharge. Once I'm done, I deactivate the high-speed spin-off. I slew right in order to go back into the hole and basically repeat the process. Once you're gonna get this control down pat, you'll be able to drill a lot quicker.